It's just that we've neglected tending the garden. We haven't taken care of what God gave us, and I think people are waking up to that. I think all the bad that's happened has created a window of opportunity where more people are paying attention than ever before.
There is no better person that I could think of to address hope in our nation than Rick Green, America's Constitution coach, right? Every time I think of what's going on in the world around us, it can get so overwhelming. And I feel like for myself, over the past 3 years, it's gotten even more overwhelming with COVID and just, you know, the election and all that's happened. And it's so easy to despair. And when I think of bringing hope, if anyone can do that, it is you, and you always bring it from a biblical perspective. And so, Rick, introduce yourself and your family to us and your ministry and tell us what it is that you do.
Well, thanks for the invite. I'd go anywhere with the Hamptons, whether that's Georgia or Oklahoma or wherever else in the country. So always good to be with you. I love you guys and all that you're doing. You know, I tend to be optimistic by nature. And so for me, looking at, like you're saying, the last few years and just the chaos and the destruction of the culture, I mean, it's hard to, you cannot deny that as you look around, the American culture is crumbling. I mean, that's just the truth. That's where we are. But even in the midst of that, we can look at that. And this is what the world doesn't understand. We can look at that. We can even look at the evil that is in the country, right? A lot of the stuff that's happening to children and the things that they're doing. You can even look at that evil and you can be righteously angry while at the same time having joy. Now, that seems weird, like crazy, psychopathic to some people. But to us as believers, we have to be that way. We're commanded to be that way. We're told in James, count it all joy when you experience various trials. Why? Because God's using those trials to make you perfect and complete, lacking nothing. He's using it to create perseverance in you. And so even as the country is facing real challenges, in fact, I was going to jokingly start off by saying it's all over, forget it, grab your guns, canned food, go hide out at the ranch. I mean, that's how some people do it, right? That's how they feel about what's going on. They depress everybody. They can light up the room by leaving. That's not how we want to be. And in fact, that's not how we should be. We can, we're facing very difficult times and we have a choice. We can be like the 10 spies that came back with a negative report from the promised land and said the giants are too big, the cities are too fortified, we can't possibly win. The Bible tells us they depressed an entire generation that had to then die in the wilderness. What a horrible result. But there were two other guys we all know. We remember their names. We couldn't name any of the other 10, but we know Joshua and Caleb because Joshua and Caleb came back and said, yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, huge giants, fortified cities. It's going to be very difficult, but God's given us the land. Let's go take the land. And that's our approach. I think that's the attitude we should have, and I will have, even if we don't win. I can't promise everybody we're going to save America. We're going to prevent the left from taking over. What I can promise you is that if we do our duty, God will take care of the results, whatever they may be. And he knows the plans he has for us. We love that Jeremiah verse. We all have it on a pillow or a coffee mug or something around our house, but we forget they were marching off to 70 years of captivity when he told them that. And he said, build your houses, marry your wives, plant your gardens, all of those things. So no matter what happens in America politically, and I've devoted my life to influencing that realm. That's our mission field, is how the community is formed. But no matter what happens there, we can be joyful in knowing that God's still in control and that our job is to serve him and serve our fellow man, regardless of those outer circumstances. What makes our role so fun and exciting, what makes the homeschool movement so important right now, is that we don't just get to live and exist in this. We get to be the deciding factor, I think, on whether America falls into tyranny or comes back to liberty. We're teetering between the two. What a wonderful time to be alive. We don't live in pale and timid times, as Ronald Reagan said. It's not pale pastels. We have bold colors. We can paint in bold colors, and we can have a huge impact on what's happening. So that's a really long intro, really long answer to your question. But we're blessed, man. I just think we're still the most blessed nation in the history of the world. We still have all the best foundations that any nation has ever had. It's just that we've neglected tending the garden. We haven't taken care of what God gave us, and I think people are waking up to that. I think all the bad that's happened has created a window of opportunity where more people are paying attention than ever before, and more people are saying, "Here, my Lord, send me. I don't want my kids to live in tyranny. Tell me what to do." And so let's take advantage of that opportunity.
Amen. And you homeschooled all of your kids.
Yeah. I was homeschooled myself. I forget to always start with that. I was homeschooled back when you didn't answer the front door. We hid under the bed when somebody knocked on the door. I can remember watching my pastor, and I was probably 11 years old, watching my pastor on the news being threatened with, because he was being threatened with jail because so many out of the church were homeschooling, and just crazy stuff, right? And then, you know, when we had our kids, our first kid is named Trey, and when he was about 5 years old, my wife, who was not homeschooled, she did public and private school, and I actually did all three. I spent a few years in private school, and I ended up coming back to homeschool, finished all of my education at like, you know, 15. And so then I went to the local public high school so that I could play baseball and do debate. And I had to do high school again, you know, so it was like, anyway, it was crazy. But my wife did mostly, you know, private school and public school. And so, you know, when we had Trey and it was time for him to supposedly, you know, be handed off to the educators down the street, she just, the Lord just really spoke to her and said, he's not, you know, it's not time for you to let go of your son. It's time for you to lean in. This is where you get to do even more. And so she's the one that made the initial decision that, hey, I believe we need to do this. And of course, you know, I love that I was already a champion for homeschooling in the Texas legislature at the time. And, you know, we have so loved our chance to homeschool. We've gotten to take our kids all over the country. They've been in almost every state, been to almost every baseball park, battlefield, museum. Homeschooling gives you so much freedom, let alone the time you get with them. So for us, it's been absolutely outstanding. And I'm thrilled that homeschooling's, you know, depending on the study you look at, doubling, tripling. Wonderful to see that happen in America. Yeah, it is amazing because you are on the front lines of this battle. And let me just back up really quickly. Rick, you know this, but I'll tell our audience, you hold such a special place in our family, specifically for our decision to homeschool, because almost 13 years ago, if you can believe, we went to our very first homeschool convention. It was when Brooklyn was 4, and we had said we'd never homeschool. We didn't understand it. We believed all the misconceptions, all the negative stereotypes, and we said, we will never do this. And by God's grace, some friends invited us to a homeschool convention in Los Angeles, which is where we lived at the time. And Rick was the keynote speaker that year. And I don't remember if it was Trey or Reagan who was up on stage with you. So 13 years ago, I don't know, they were probably Reagan, because I think he was about 10. Yeah, he would have been 10 then, yeah. Yeah, and he went up on stage and he was reciting things, and that was cool. But more importantly than that was you as the keynote speaker, and just the truth that you spoke from that stage just moved us in an incredible way. And we came out of that convention completely changed. It was literally like the scales fell from our eyes. And we said, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to just try it for a year. This is our family, and we're scared to death, and we have no idea what we're doing. And we were in it, but we trusted that the Lord was going to get us through it. And now here we are 12 years later, still doing this. And by God's grace, he used you to really impact us. And I know he's used you to impact so many people, not just in homeschooling, but in our nation as well. Homeschool Insights is sponsored by CTC Math. If you're looking for a great online math program, visit ctcmath.com and try it for free. For more great homeschool inspiration and resources, listen to the Schoolhouse Rocked podcast every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.